Welcome. This is another LaxFactor podcast quick hit, and this time we're going to talk about the top 5 attackmen of all time, according to me. And this is just my view. Some people are going to choose to leave it really far away, and others might be, in line with me to a degree. But I have reasons, and I'll explain them if you give me a minute. So here we go. My number 5, Connor Fields. Fields is a tough one to place. Some would have him out of their top 5. Some think that he might even need to be higher. I put him at 5 because I do believe him to be one of the greats, but I think he needed to stay healthy through his senior year to solidify that legacy, to move up this list a little bit more in my mind. He probably would have a Twarton if he remained healthy. Albany probably goes to the semis if he's healthy, but alas, that didn't happen. That knee injury was painful to watch him play through in the playoffs, and he was still incredible despite it. But he elevated that Albany program to the heights that they were at. They had a lot of talented players around him, but without him, they were nowhere near as good as they could have been with him. And I think he's the MVP in terms of providing the most value to his team. And without him, they were completely out of their element. He's a relentless dodger, has incredible hands and feeding ability, and he could score goals with the best of them. 364 points off 199 goals, 165 assists, one-time attackman of the year, 2-time first-team All-American. Connor Fields, an incredible player, and my number 5. My number 4 attackman, Casey Powell. Again, some people might not have him on their top 5. Some people might even have him a spot or two up. No question, when Casey played, he was dominant, and that's why I have him on my list. He was a 2-time player of the year, 3-time first-team All-American, came right out as a freshman, started and tore it up for Syracuse. More importantly, he was able to get himself in the Orange a national title. And he was one of the first guys that mixed incredible physicality with both speed and ridiculous stick skills. Casey was a high skill guy in terms of his finishing ability, his feeding ability. He had everything, all the traits you needed in an offensive player, and he was also a beast of a man on top of it. So he finishes with 287 points, 158 goals, 129 assists, a national title, 2 Player of the Year awards, the Enners Trophy, Attackman of the Year, and a 3-time first-team All-American. Casey Powell was a monster, and that's why he's my number 4. And the man I believe to be the 3rd greatest attackman of all time, Rob Pannell. Pannell helped Cornell into the prime time, and by his junior and senior years, he was one of the faces of the sport. Always one of the most popular players, moving on from his freshman year all the way through. I got to see him play a handful of times in person. Incredible athlete. He was an amazing dodger, distributed the ball amazingly well. He's one of the OGs of quarterbacking and offense from the attack position, and regularly elevated the play of everyone around him due to his ability to dodge and draw slides. He turned heads and drew all sorts of attention. He was short, one of the wee folk, but he was strong as hell and had an incredible ability to round the corner, dodging from X, and kind of slough off contact as he got around the edge and could stuff it home. In the end, 354 points off 150 goals, 204 assists, Twarton Trophy winner, 2-time Player of the Year, 3-time first-team All-American, and 2-time Attackman of the Year. Rob Pannell easily deserves to be in the number 3 on anybody's lists, and that's no different for me. He's one of the greats of all time, and I was blessed to get to see him play on numerous occasions. And my number 2 all-time great at attack is Mike Powell. And part of this one is kind of easy because his awards and the praise that he earned as a player, kind of justify the number 2 spot. And I'll start with that first. He's a 2-time national champion, 2-time Twarton Trophy winner, 1-time Player of the Year award, 4-time Attackman of the Year, 4-time first-team All-American. This guy dominated the sport when he played. 307 points on 150 goals and 157 assists. It doesn't get any more even than that. And what put him there was his quickness and dodging ability. They were off the charts. It was something the sport of lacrosse had never seen by the time he hit. He had the speed and athleticism of an Allen Iverson, and he broke defenders' ankles over the course of his career. I put him at number 2 because he was the man. There was nobody to eat the Attackman of the Year awards while he played except for him. And being one of, at that time, he was only the 6th player to ever be a 4-time first-team All-American. So Mike Powell, easily, in my mind, deserving of the number 2 spot all time. And the guy that I put at the top of the rest, my pick for number 1 attackman of all time, is Lyle Thompson. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one. It's not a real hard, it's not a stretch of a pick. Without question, he was the most creative and dominant scorer the game has ever seen. He did things with his stick at Albany that would put my bedroom alone time as a teenager to shame. He was a relentless dodger. He'd dodge, redodge again. He would just wear defenders out over the course of not just a game, but even just individual possessions. He ended his career the all-time leading scorer in the history of Division I lacrosse, a record that will be really tough to break. 400 points, 175 goals, 225 assists. It could have gone either way. He could have scored 50 more goals and assists, but he just drew so many eyeballs and so much attention that he had no choice but to dish a little bit more. 2-time Tewaarton Trophy winner, 2-time Player of the Year, 2-time Attackman of the Year, 3-time first-team All-American, was just one of the greatest players of all time. I don't just put him at number 1 on my attack list. I put him at my GOAT of all time. I believe Lyle Thompson to be the greatest lacrosse player to ever play the game. Not by a long shot. There's a lot of guys that are right below him, but I loved watching him play. I loved seeing how he ended his career. I love where he brought Albany lacrosse. I love what he's meant to the sport. So Lyle Thompson, you're my number 1. You are the GOAT. And that's a wrap.